Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
Kayak Bass Nation is presented by Dugout Bait and Tackle. Go to dugoutfishing.com to find everything you need for your next kayak bass fishing tournament.
Hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego.
Also sponsored by Revo Sunglasses. Go to revo.com, use code KBN25 to save 25% off your next order. Revo, best lenses on earth. Also sponsored by Western Sun Vodka. Go to westernsundistillery.com and use the bottle finder to find a bottle near you.
Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to KBN Live. Happy Tuesday. I almost said happy Monday, Ryan. I'm used to it.
It's not anymore.
Yeah,
we
day after
that one up last night.
Yeah, man, day after the 4th of July. Hope everybody had a great weekend and celebrated safely, man. How was your weekend, Ryan?
Good. We chased fireworks shows across Tennessee and Georgia, so all was right in the world.
All right, I feel you. I'm kind of old manish. I don't really do much with the fireworks. I just kind of chill in the living room in the AC. But yeah, it was still a fun weekend. If you guys are just jumping on here, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or whatever, help us out and share this one around. This is going to be an ultra special episode because we have an unbelievable guest tonight. One of the best anglers in the world would be a fair statement. Ott Defoe is joining us. I was going to try to remember some of his accomplishments, but I'm just going to read them off the screen from this screenshot right here. 9 career wins, 55 top 10s, 66 top 20s, a couple Red Crest appearances, classic champ, going on $3 million in earnings on the professional tours. Unbelievable. And frankly, kind of fanboyish. I've been a fan of Ott's for years, so I can't believe he's coming on our podcast, Ryan. He's been one of my favorite anglers to follow over the years anyway. So.
Shout out to little homie Daniel Keys for hooking that up. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun. We're going to get him in here shortly and pick his brain a little bit and hear about what he's going on up at Carson Newman. And then we've got a couple extra guests near the end of the show, right, Ryan?
We do. We're bringing on a couple of the Carson Newman college anglers, and they're going to talk, kind of about the fishing team, how they got to where they're at, and then maybe a little transition from bass boat to kayak college series. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Okay, good. We always like to touch on what went down for the last week or so. I know, with the 4th of July weekend, there weren't a lot of tournaments, but some guys from the South made the trek up north and fished Susquehanna. Did a little, test run up to the river, man.
Yeah, they did. Team Tennessee Trailer Trash, they hit the road, son. The Mighty Mullet and Eric Thomason went up there. I got a special picture of Eric that I'm going to save for a good day. He managed to crush his 360 drive into a boulder and ended up on a bona fide float the next day. So
nice.
I can't wait to bust that out on him.
As suspected, tons of 80-plus and 90-plus inch limits up there. And Jake Narshman even came in top 5 up there. He did a good job.
The boy's going to win one sooner or later up there in his backyard.
Yeah,
I feel it. He's going to
keep
grinding. Yeah, he's going to get there.
Yeah, he's going to get there. So, yeah, that went down over the weekend. I don't think any other tournaments went down that I can think of.
It's been kind of quiet around here. I think Peach State has like a Five Rivers Throwdown coming up week after next, and we're doing a TVKA night event on Chickamauga on the 16th. If anybody's in the area wants to come up and jump in with us, that's always a fun one. We're a lot more relaxed on the night tournament, so come out and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and as far as the group page goes, no super long threads or any craziness, although we did have a post about a late payment to an angler that that got bumped up due to a series of unfortunate events. And as of latest update, he's still not paid. So get that man paid.
Come on,
Pay him his money.
get the checkbook out. Let's go.
That was before Memorial Day. We just had July 4th, so pay that man. And then we have another developing story we're not going to talk about tonight. We'll save that one for next week.
Saving it.
All right. I always like to shout out the sponsors before we get our guests on here. Of course, we got Revo, best lenses on earth. Appreciate Revo sunglasses, KBN 25, Western Sun Vodka, drink of choice as always for cesspoolers everywhere. And then Dugout Bait and Tackle is our presenting sponsor. And I got that picture here, Ryan. Let you know about these. They still got some demo boats left.
We got some. We got some of these little Hobies laying around, kick up fins, ready to rock. Price is too low to advertise. So shoot somebody an anonymous text, and you'll get a price back, and then you can buy it.
Too low to everything must go. It sounds like
everything must go. At least those.
Cliche.
Those have to go. Everything else is probably going to stay, but let's get rid of those.
I got you. All right. So if you're just jumping on here, help us out. Give us a share to your local group or to your page or whatever. And on Facebook, just throw us a comment and let us know where you're watching from. Let me get this thing turned around, Ryan. We'll get Mr. Defoe in here.
Let's do it.
All right. Bang, look, we got a bonus guest.
He's got a special guest.
Yeah, she was out here running around on the porch, made her come up here and sit down instead of chasing this deer that's out here in the corn pile. That's what she was watching. I caught her eye, but trying to make her stay here so she don't run this doe off.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join our kayak fishing podcast, sir. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Glad
are you actually at home right now?
I am.
At your own house?
I am at home, sitting out on the back porch. Yep.
Y'all got a little break. When's your next road event?
Yeah, we ICAST will be the next stop, for anything to go to, and then our next tournament is in August up in New York at Lake Cayuga. Is our next tournament. So still got a little bit of a break, until that one. That one's pretty early August, but been a pretty good summer at home.
I saw today a story. Somebody just caught. I think they caught a new New York State record smallmouth at Cayuga. It was 8.6 or something. It was pretty healthy little fish.
Yeah, 8 something. I saw a picture of that fish. It was crazy. I mean, even the base of that fish's tail looked like it was like as big as your forearm. I mean, just a crazy smallmouth.
It was fat too, and they've spawned, right? I mean, our guys had a tournament up there in New Hampshire, and a lot of those smallmouth had spawned already. That's crazy that fish is still that big.
Yeah, it was probably, they could have caught it off of a bed, truthfully, but it looked like it had laid out. I don't think she still had eggs in her. Yeah, to have been that big. And from what I'd heard, I know some guys that went up there and pre-practiced. It's funny, kind of in our part of the country. I feel like we kind of had a delayed spring. I don't want to call it a late spring, but kind of delayed. Where up there, they actually had a pretty early one that got hot pretty quick. So those fish had actually spawned a little earlier than usual from what I had heard.
Yeah, it seemed like down here we were about 3 weeks behind schedule, roughly on my end of the Tennessee River, anyway.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was a couple weeks behind here, and like our last event on Watts Bar, was early June, and those fish were, in my opinion, definitely behind. Not many fish grouped up deep. Just, they were kind of scattered around at all depths. Honestly, some guys caught them out, but never in the groups that I expected, to be caught there.
Yeah, we were fishing Chickamauga. We had a 200 boat tournament on Chickamauga for the kayaks at that same exact time, and that was the deal. There wasn't huge schools out deep that you kind of expect. I think the water levels had a lot to do with that. They ran a whole lot of water that week before too.
Yeah, it definitely did. That's the current was like in practice was pretty good, and then it actually kind of fell off. As our tournament went, as far as what they were running, current generation and stuff.
I know Ryan wants to ask you, a few questions about your, background, quick little story about that. Before we do that, I want to throw a question up here from one of the viewers on Facebook. They said, are you a river rat? And if anyone follows your social media, they know you're a jet boat aficionado. So one of my questions was going to be later, are you a kayak guy or could you be? It seems like you'd be a perfect fit because you love that skinny water and getting up in some of these creeks and rivers.
It does, but I'm maybe just too lazy. Like I'd much rather stand on a foot pedal of a trolling motor than either paddle myself with my feet or with my hands. And then if I want to go back upriver, I just crank the Mercury jet up and I go back upriver. You know what I mean? So that it's I absolutely would consider myself a river rat, and I love fishing in rivers. And we have some kayaks. We've got some Ascend kayaks here and stuff. But I fished out of them, and I can see the benefits of it. But I really like my tracker jet boat better, if at all possible, to use it. There are places where you just can't. I mean, there really are limitations still with that boat. It's pretty special, but there are limitations.
You do. It does require some water. There has to be at least some water there to get.
Exactly. And with a kayak, you can get to places where there is none and across and get to the next batch of water. So I do need a little bit of water with that jet boat.
Well, that's a notice to kayak companies. Let's get that jet kayak, the Ott series.
There you go.
Promo opportunities. Abound for the rivers now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jordan Marshall said he's seen you a time or two out there. He lives up in your neck of the woods, so he's running across that.
He's out of Murrayville, but he fishes your neck of the woods quite a bit up there.
Okay. Yeah. It's it is a fun place. There's some good fish up this way, but I admire you all that are bona fide kayak fishermen. I admire the way you all have to fish. To be honest, if I dislike a part of the lake that I'm in or whatever, I can back up and haul 30 miles down the lake and try something completely different. I do that quite frequently, but I mean, y'all are. It's like. You can load it back on the trailer and drive somewhere else, but it's a bit more of a commitment.
Yeah, you waste really about an hour or more doing that move.
Yeah, you really got to kind of commit, to a zone of the lake or something. It's definitely a different animal.
So how did you get started in your professional fishing career? Like, what was the moment that you were like, you know what, I think this is just going to be it for me. I'm not going to try anything else. I'm just going to be a pro here.
I knew when I was 9 years old, I knew that it's what I wanted to do. The first classic that I attended was in 1996. George Cochran won it on, I believe it was either on Lay or Logan Martin. I think it was on Logan Martin down in Alabama. And I can just remember going to that tournament, and we were maybe Bass members at the time, but the arena was full, and so they had other viewing rooms, to actually watch the weigh-in on closed circuit television, and we had to go to one of those because we weren't life members or had any kind of priority seating or anything. So we're in just this room, with 50 people or whatever was in it, watching the final weigh-in in there, and I can remember at that moment. I mean, that's what I want to do right there. I want to be a bass fisherman. I want to. That's what I wanted to do at the age of 9. That would have been shortly before I turned 10, I think, because that would have been in August back then. But it's pretty clear to me that's what I wanted to do. Of course, I mean, as a 9-year-old, you don't know exactly what that ends up looking like, but there was no question in my mind what I had, what I would desire to do.
And what was your path to get there? I mean, what kind of steps did you take, in your high school, college age years? Like, how did you take steps to land where you are now?
Yeah, for me, I mean, that just immediately, and I say we, as namely, I've got a brother that's a couple years older, and I've got a brother that's quite a bit older, and of course, Dad. But just fishing as many tournaments as we possibly could. We fished a couple that fall. But then the year I was 10, and my birthday's in September, I was 10 and turned 11 later in the year. I think we fished 50 tournaments. And of course, all team tournaments, maybe a Tuesday nighter or a tournament on Saturday or whatever open tournament, that we could find. But, I think I fished 50 tournaments that next year and did that for a number of years. We ended up joining a bass club and just kind of working my way up, fishing from team tournaments, and then once I turned 16, fishing BFLs, and like I mentioned, a bass club in there, and and then the BFLs took me to the EverStart series, what it was at the time, what are the Toyotas now, and actually the first year I signed up to fish the Everstarts, I tried to get in the Bass Opens as well because I wanted to fish the Classic. You know, I mean, that was what had drove me to be a bass fisherman from the start. But those had a huge waiting list, couldn't get in them. So just went the FLW route, fished the Everstarts a couple of years, couple or three, and then fished what was called FLW Series, that was the first year they had it. It was kind of an in between the Everstarts and the FLW Tour. Fished that in 2006. Then 2007 was the first year I fished the FLW Tour, and fished there for 4 years from 7 through 10. And in 10, I finally got into the Bass Opens and fished in those as well in 2010 and qualified for the Elite Series. At that point, fished the Elite Series for 8 seasons all the way through 2018, and then 19 is when the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour started up and switched over to that.
It's amazing to hear that, because you can hear that with any sport where a person gets involved in it young. Like a parent didn't have to drag them into it. A lot of young kids, you got to try to force them to go to soccer practice or force them to do this or that. But when a kid or even young adult or whatever, they got a passion for it, man. It's there's no work involved other than getting them where they need to go. You don't have to make them do it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's the way it was, man. There was, that always, and he still jokes about it, that on a Saturday morning, he would literally knock on the floor upstairs. My brother's rooms and ours are upstairs. He could he'd take a broom handle and literally, poke on the floor. It was a log house we lived in, so his roof was my floor. But he'd knock on the floor, time to get up. That was it. And within 5 minutes, I'm dressed, teeth brushed. I put all that together, dressed and brushed. But teeth brushed, dressed, downstairs in 5 minutes in the truck. Now I would immediately go right back to sleep. And then he'd, drive us to the lake where on a school morning, it was like 3 or 4 times, you got to get up. So we got to go to school. But on tournament morning at 4:30, just tap on the floor and I would come running down the steps in just a couple minutes. And that's kind of the way it always was. It was didn't have to try very hard to get me to go fishing. That's for sure.
Got a few questions coming in. Somebody asked from YouTube, what level series did you finally able to pull your first legitimate sponsor?
That's a good question, and something that a lot of people, want to ask about it, getting sponsors and that stuff. So what I would call my first legitimate sponsor, that would have been my second year. I don't think I had anything at all my first year on the FLW tour. And to me, a legitimate sponsor would be some type of income. Actual money. Not a discount on product, not just free products or something, but actual cash in hand. And the first one I got, I feel like it was like $2,500, maybe $2,400, like $200 a month type deal. And I believe that would have been my second year on the FLW tour. So I'd fished the first year, and I had made the Forest Wood Cup. I didn't make any top 10s throughout the season. But I could have had one my first year, but I don't truly remember one. I'm going to say my second year. So 2008, second year of fishing at professional level, type stuff.
That's what I was going to say. Pay attention to that. $2,500 a year on the FLW tour. So let that, kind of settle in your heads when you when you think, I'm sponsored. All right, you've covered your gas to get to the lake now. So once.
Well, one trip.
One trip a month. Yeah, you got that covered for one trip a month, guys.
Here's a great follow up to that question: is what'd you do to pay for money in the meantime? Pay for money. What'd you do for money to pay and get by before you started making money?
It was. For me, I still had a full-time job at home. So I worked for Wilson Trucking at that point in time, a trucking company here out of Knoxville. And they worked with me. The boss I had was great. He would let me miss as much time as I needed to. But when I was home, I'd work 50, 60 hours a week. And work paid the bills. Fishing paid for fishing. Like, fishing wasn't making any money. Like, you know, what was my third year on the FLW tour was the first year I had a real sponsor, and that covered like half of my entry fees, like $35,000 in sponsorship money. It was FLW team deal, so I actually never got in that cash. I just didn't have to pay $35,000 out. So it was, you know, as good as cash. But that was far and away my best year of sponsorship on FLW tour. But yeah, that second year I had for sure less than $10,000. I'm gonna say around $7,500 in sponsorship. I had 24,000, or I think is what it was, in entry fees, along with, you know, travel expenses and stuff. And I still fished a division at EverStart. So I probably had more like 30 in entry fees and probably 12 or 15 in expenses, you know. But fishing paid for fishing. That's, I would, you know, FLW, and I'm not sure exactly how they still do it on pro circuit now, but they staggered their payments. Like, you'd be out like $6,000 in the fall, but then you didn't have to pay your remaining balance for that tournament, like another $2 or $3 grand until 2 weeks before or something. So you could actually go and fish before your credit card statement would ever come in. You know, so, and that was, I just, you know, we had enough cash in the bank. It's like, okay, we can, you know, we've got enough to go to the next one. And then I would get checks steady enough along the way. That was just one of those deals where God always provided in my career, to where it came down to it in 2008, pretty early in the year, actually, that we were like, we've got enough money to go to the next tournament, and that's going to be it, just because we'd paid, you know, deposits, and we were 3 or 4 tournaments in at that point, and I hadn't gotten a check. You know, 10,000, because that's the thing, you got a check, it's 10 grand, but you know, which would cover that tournament and about 2 or 3 more, but I hadn't gotten one yet. And I'm at the first day at Lewis Smith, and it's like April 2008. I'd come in the first day and caught 2 fish, and was sitting. Actually, the tournament was terrible. I mean, it was an extremely tough one. I think I had 4 pounds. The check was like 8 or 9. I mean, it wasn't like I was way out of it, but I wasn't in there either. And Jenny, my wife, I come in that day, and she said, "Do you think this is, you know, you think this is what God wants you to do, where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing?" I said, "Yeah, I think so." She said, "We better get your butt out there tomorrow and catch some fish." And I went out the next day, and I caught, I think, what was the biggest bag of the tournament. It was the biggest bag of the first 2 days for sure, and did make a check in that one. The very next tournament was at Santee Cooper, and it was EverStart, and I actually won that one. And then I'm getting a check in the next FLW tour just like the week after. So
that's all you needed, was a little motivational speech there.
I definitely needed that little bit of motivational speech, you know. But that was the deal. Even like that was a $50,000 month right there. But even still, that over the course of the year, that kind of just got us through, you know, because it is such an expensive deal to do that at a professional level if you don't have some serious sponsor income.
You know, I've heard other anglers talk on, you know, different shows and podcasts and stuff. At any point early on, were you close to letting go of the rope, or were you committed and you were going to figure that out?
That was definitely the closest one. You know, I mean, that was, had I not gotten a check there, I could have squeaked one more tournament out of it. You know, the EverStart would have been a smaller cost at that point, you know, the week following. But that was because we'd kind of made the commitment to each other that we weren't going to do it truly on credit cards. Like I'd saved enough, you know, from local tournaments and different things, to where when we got started, we never put more on the credit card than we had in the bank. You know, it just wasn't one of those where we wanted to truly go in debt going fishing, because of just, one, I knew the stress it would put on me, and I didn't feel like I honestly didn't think I'd perform under it. And just didn't want to put, you know, our family in that situation. Because in 2007 was when Jenny and I had our first child with Abby. So, I mean, we already had kids at this point, you know. So I didn't want to have that kind of stress on her as well as myself. And so that was as close as it ever got, because that, like, after those tournaments and what we had what we had out on the credit card versus what we had in the bank, we're just going to put us at about nothing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You hear jokes like that all the time. Like, yeah, you see these pros out here in the wrap trucks and wrap boats, and what you don't see is a second and third mortgage on their house to, all the sacrifices that they're making, at home and in their personal life to chase this dream. Because, and for a lot of guys don't get to realize it like you have, but I mean, they go all in on it for 5 or 6 or 7 years until finally it just, everything dries up and that's all you're left with is what could have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a real thing, and a lot of guys have been down that road. I know guys that I've fished against, especially on the Elite Series. You'd see that a guy fished Open a year or two, make it to the Elite Series. Okay, here's your invitation. Here's your bill for $75,000. Between the entry fees and expenses. And that's the people think you make the Elite Series or you make the FLW Tour, you make the Bass Pro Tour on Major League Fishing. They think that sponsors are sitting there ready to write you a blank check to go fishing on. That is not the way it is, much like it was with me. It was my, like I said, my first year I had a decent year on the FLW Tour, but the second year I had $7,500 tops in income, from sponsors. So it's not that instantaneous of, okay, you've made it to the big time. Now people are just going to start throwing money at you to go fishing. They're going to kind of sit back and wait and watch because they know that there's, out of the crop of each year, there's going to be a few of them that are really standouts, and then those are going to be the ones that they try to jump on. And some of those guys will hang around a couple of years, and then they'll kind of hit their stride. You see that as well. And, some guys just show up on the scene and are instantly successful. Other ones, they takes them a couple of years to hit their stride, and other ones it kind of plays out in the same amount of time.
How big of an impact do you think the college kind of stepping stone has as far as when they are ready to be pros?
Mm-hmm.
Like how big of an advantage is that, do you think?
It definitely is, and you see some guys that have worked their way through the college ranks and then made it to the professional levels and are uber successful. I think of the Lee boys especially that have qualified their way in, and they were excellent in college, and then they transitioned that right over onto the professional side and have done really well there. But then you see some others that have won big stuff in college, and they come and they'll be kind of hit and miss and stuff along the professional ranks. But the nice thing that it does for a college angler is that they get to travel to a lot of other places. They get to see a lot of different fisheries. They get to experience that, where it hopefully doesn't actually cost them a ton of money. When I was starting out traveling, when I'd go to Okeechobee or I'd go to New York, I'd go to wherever, I was all on my own dime, so every penny of that was coming out of my pocket. Now it was I was putting the money up for that tournament. So if I have a good tournament, I get the return of that. But that experience, to get that experience without it costing you $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 is pretty doggone valuable.
Yeah. Listening to when you got started, 2008, 2009, you've kind of been able to ride the wave or be part of how sponsorship has really changed for y'all, for, the highest level of anglers, because it used to be, you win a couple giant tournaments and they line up, like you said, but social media kind of took off right about that time as well. And now, you see companies sponsoring anglers that aren't even pros, just YouTubers and stuff. So you guys have kind of had to adapt. How have you navigated that since the beginning to now?
Yeah, it definitely. I started in that time frame to where tournaments were king. That was the era I got my start in, and I'm absolutely guilty of still being a little bit old school mindset of that, and didn't get on the social media bandwagon as early as I should have. Truthfully, I can remember when Jenny started up a Facebook page. I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with this. I don't want to be posting this crap. Like,
who's your top 8 friends, honey? Come on,
right? Yeah. I was like, I wanted nothing to do with this. But I completely I think I don't completely understand it now, but I understand the need for it and the benefit of it at this point in time. Definitely see the where it has a lot of value to a sponsor and in the companies and to your own personal brand. To be able to engage with people on a semi-personal basis, through social media. But it's funny because I definitely have seen that transition, because when I fished, it was all about when I got started, it was all about who won the last tournament, and and that was the main deal. And even this, it seems like the old news now, but I mean, as far as live streaming our tournaments, has only been going on for 5 years, 7 years at this point. I mean, most of my career, that wasn't a thing. It was just pre-recorded for TV and magazines and print still had a lot of value. Even a website article was kind of new, or really getting going back when I got my start. Definitely changed.
I got a 2-part question based off what you just said with the live stream and the tournaments. Number 1, do you like it? Number 2, how do you feel that it affects the fishery itself when they're burning your own spot for you? You don't even have to worry about if you told your buddy about it, because that is on TV with the pin dropped. Are you getting people showing up trying to cut in on? How does all that play out?
Yeah, I do. I do enjoy the live aspect of it. I truly do. At the last tournament down at Watts Bar, it was neat because I had the camera some of that tournament, but I was fishing right by a highway. And so I've got people in the back of the boat essentially watching me. But some of those people that were watching were like, "Hey, I know where he is. I'm gonna drive by there and blow the horn out," and just to come by and say hey. So I mean, and I had friends that stopped by because they saw on live where I was. Stop by and just, say hey off the bank or talk to you. It has its neat parts. There's no question about it. One thing I'll say about the way our coverage is, and I'll say this because I watch some of it, whether it's after the event or if I don't make the cut and watch some of it, they do a really, really good job about not saying Ott Defoe is fishing in Caney Creek or Ott Defoe is fishing this place. So like they do a really good job of not absolutely calling us out. Now, if you're fishing right by an obvious, if you're fishing a tail race or you're fishing something like that, there ain't much they can do about it. I mean, that's the background. That is what it is. But they know the importance of that. They know, I feel like they understand the danger of live and the fact that we get off the water at 4:00 and the tournament Tuesday night it blasts off at 6. I mean, there's not much they can do about it. It just is what it is. But they do a really good job, I feel like, of not showing us on a map and saying, "Here's the point he's fishing," while the event's going on. And that's not always been that way. And I watched some Bass Live coverage. I'll just go out and say it, that wasn't that way. I mean, it literally showed. If you used any discernment whatsoever, you can tell exactly, the buoy that a guy's fishing by on a ledge tournament or something.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's, I think our commentators and our production crew are pretty aware of how sensitive it is, and it's maybe more so for our tournaments because they are so long. I mean, we spend 6 days out on the water, and over the course of the event just for the tournament. So it's, it can greatly impact it because of that.
Yeah, I know last year, Ryan, I pre-fished for the lacrosse BOS event by simply watching Zach Burge on the MLF coverage. Because I didn't have time to go and really check a lot of stuff out. And I said, you know what? I think I know where he's at. And by God, it worked for a day and a half.
Well, you see a lot of guys, because, I mean, we travel all over the place, and most all of us still have full-time jobs, right? So, we may be going out to Dardanelle or whatever, 9-hour drive. Mm-hmm. I don't have 3 or 4 days I can go pre-fish, so you get on YouTube or whatever and you look, and there's just video after video after video of, you can put in the time of year, I mean, whatever bait preference you have, and usually find something on it. And I like that aspect. I like the live aspect, so we can kind of learn from what the pros, the best in the business, how they are approaching something or presenting a bait or whatever. But the map spot burning is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how that's a thing. And if you live on one of these local lakes, like if I watch Gunnersville or Chickamauga and just watch them just I mean, it's tough. Like roast something that's not super obvious, and you're like, why? Like this is crazy. Now everybody, anybody with an internet knows what it is now.
Yeah. No, it is definitely a thing. The cameraman's going to stand on the back deck with the camera on his shoulder, and he's going to point towards the front. So whatever's off the bow of the boat, as far as a landmark.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's going to get seen. It's definitely the way it works.
I've been trying to get Cody Prather to give me some juice because I know he's been in your boat several times, but he ain't doing it.
Yeah, Cody's a good dude. I like Cody off oil. He's one of our cameramen. He does a good job.
He's a solid guy. What I want to know we talked about kind of how you got started and how you got going. Winning that classic, that kind of being the fuel to the fire that got you into this field overall. Like, what did it feel like? I was there working that classic, and I felt like I knew that you were going to win it before it even started. Like, seriously, like, I was like, this is his. Like, there's not, we talk about the stars line up and everything has to go right to win a big one. I felt like that was it right there. Did you know that you had won it before you started the tournament, or did you still feel like you had to go fishing?
Oh no, I had to go fishing. No, my practice was good. I mean, it was, and I felt like I would have a good shot at having a good tournament. But part of what I had found in practice, I knew a lot of the guys had found too. It was kind of a deal that was happening in the backs of pockets and really really shallow. But it was funny because the water level actually come up and messed that deal up. But what in the way I typically fish there and how I caught most of my fish in the tournament, I truly didn't even do in practice much. I did it on a couple of places, a handful of places that were not stuff I knew I would fish in practice. So I mean, it was on the same type of pattern. It was on the main channel, and it was shallow bars and points and that type of thing. But it was stuff that like I probably never even have time to fish in tournament day. Kind of places, and those places I got bid on, and so I knew at that point in time I'm like, I know I'm going to fish this way. This is how I want to fish. And what was funny is in practice, with the classic, it's the practice. You practice like 3 days a weekend before, and then you get a kind of a run through day on Wednesday. But it's only an 8 hour. It's a tournament day essentially, just an 8 hour day. So your practice is kind of wonky anyhow. But I never saw anybody fishing even. I'm not saying the exact places, but not even the same type of stuff I wanted to fish. They weren't even, they weren't running that pattern. They were all basically back in creeks or in pockets or in bays or whatever. Hardly anybody fishing on the main channel. And so when I go down through there the first morning of the tournament, man, that's pick of the litter. I can fish whatever I want to fish. And the only other person I saw fishing anything that I actually saw, I saw two people. Mike Iaconelli fished like one spot that I would have fished, and Mark Daniels was fishing on the main channel, but he never fished anything that I would have fished. And then I did see Jacob Wheeler on the final day further down the lake fishing stuff on the main channel. But those were like the three people that, to my knowledge, fished the main lake. I think Zaldane may have some too, but nobody was fishing the main lake, which was crazy to me. I'm glad that it worked out that way. But after the first day, and I was leading and I had 20 pounds and stuff, I was like, it could work out, but I know that lake well enough to know one day it can be good, and you may never catch a fish again. That's Fort Loudon.
That's a tough spot to fish for sure.
It's a very tough place especially to be consistent. And the next day was a prime example of that. I had half the weight, on the second day that I had the first day, and caught about the same number of keepers. I just never caught anything of any size. The first one I caught was a good one. After that, nothing of any size, and I honestly struggled to put a limit in the boat. And finally, did and caught a few more small ones. But then the next day kind of started off kind of slow, and then ended up running into them and catching them pretty good. But no, I had no indication beforehand that I knew I was gonna win that tournament. I felt good about it. I knew the nice thing about fishing when at home is you're never going to spend a minute wasted. You're never going to be like, I'm going to pull up and fish this point. I don't know if the bass has ever lived here or not. that was not the case. Everywhere I was going to make a cast, I knew bass had been caught before. So my confidence was good. I knew I was going to be in productive water, but no, I that's the last place to say I was confident in winning.
That was an amazing event, and I wanted to follow up to what Ryan was talking about, the live coverage, and we've had this conversation on our group page and our forums and on this show before about what it's going to take to bridge kayak bass fishing into the pro-ish, at least, realm. Right now, we kind of have those talks, but everything's an open in kayak fishing. Mm-hmm. There are some big checks being cashed, relative to what we, have invested, but we don't have a legit pro series. You've obviously been with FLW Bass. You've been with MLF and kind of saw the development of a brand new pro series. So what do you think it will take to build that bridge to a pro level for a lower level deal like kayak fishing?
For kayak fishing, and that, man, I think the potential is absolutely there. I mean, the amount of people I see in kayak fishing, and the nice thing about it is the fact that it is a lower entry level of cost. I mean, if a guy has got $3,000 or $4,000 and he can buy a little bit he can buy some fishing stuff and he can buy a kayak, dude, he's set. I mean, he's ready to go. The thing something I could see that would, I mean, if I was just spitballing right off the rip, obviously you don't have a place for a cameraman or a judge in your boat. So you've got to have some way to have another. I feel like to keep it completely legitimate, to have another set of eyes on you. If it was, it would have to start off small. I feel like to manage this, but man, if you had a way to hook an iPhone that was live streaming back to a truck, and if it was 10 guys, if it was 20 guys in the event, but they were live streamed back to the truck, everything they did was watched from the truck. Every fish they caught, the way they measured it, or you were able to do scales, whichever would be your preference as far as that goes. And you'd have to start off small, but you could grow it from there. But you had that live stream back to the truck was kind of your boat official. And then they, it just all went from there to be able to keep things on the up and up. And, I could see that taking off because people love, as we all do as anglers, we love to watch live fishing because you do truly learn more. When it's the unedited version, you watch the 3 casts before the cast that the guy actually made and caught the fish, so that's what's neat about it. And those are a lot of times, that's where you learn the most. And then the actual fish catch is just the fish catch. But, so I think that would be a way to do it.
I know if you have Boyd Duckett's ear, kayak fishing is perfect for the MLF format because we already catch photo release. We could catch all you want. So,
Bass is in the originators. Yeah,
Bass is in the game. Y'all can get in the game next. Little MLF kayak fishing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, y'all were the originators of that deal. No doubt about it.
Which one do you prefer? Do you like the catch as many as you can, or you like the Big 5 format?
I like to catch as many as you can. I truly do. Ours, but it's twofold. You look at it, everybody wants to compare every fish counts to 5 fish, but we're also every fish counts a couple days, the weight's 0. Every fish counts, the weight's 0. You just got to check the boxes until you get to the final day, and then that's the only day that winning matters. Where, with bass or pro circuit changed theirs this year, but it's the cumulative. So this day, and then you added all the way to the end. Yeah. And so in that format, with only 5 fish counting, you kind of get who the guy that was more consistent throughout the whole week, and was able to carry that through from the end. The only thing with that is one big day or one big fish can truly win the tournament. I've done that before. I mean, the one I won in lacrosse, I caught a 6-pounder at lacrosse in an elite series. Now, I mean, I had to catch other fish to go with it, and I had other, I had big weights other days, but dude, a 6-pounder was like I got to weigh in 6.
That's a triple digit at lacrosse.
Right. I got a whole nother fish that day, because of that. And I came in second and won at Okeechobee because I had one day that I had 31 pounds or something, so it's that's the only thing with that format to where it's like, man, you can you can separate yourself in one single day. That to where in our format, you got to make it all the way through, and then that final day is when you've got to really exceptionally perform. And I think that's where the every fish part of it levels it out. Like I personally, I don't like what the pro circuit did this year, to where it's 5 fish, but on the final day it's just that standalone day. I get the reason for it, because the excitement, and it's not a guy doesn't carry a 10-pound lead into the final day and he's already won before they go fishing. I get the reason for it, but as an angler, I'm not crazy about it, because on that final day you catch a 6-pounder at lacrosse, well, you probably won the tournament because of one fish. Where in ours, you ain't going to win the tournament. You could catch a 10-pounder on Watts Bar. You ain't going to win the tournament because of that one fish. You know, with every fish counting, it's going to kind of negate that. You know, so I do. I like the every fish part of it. I feel like you don't have that one lucky bite, you know, here or there that, you know, you win because of that fish. And I've been like I said, I've been the benefit of that, you know, in my career before. But I feel like the better angler overall for the whole week typically comes out on top.
Yeah, Shane Kitchens threw a comment in there, basically talking about changing the minimums. When you guys did that, I think that helped from a viewing perspective a lot. You know, changing the minimums based on where you're at, as opposed to just a standard 12-inch or 1 pound or whatever.
1 pound, yeah.
Did you like that?
No doubt, I did. I like it now. I'll say again, I was not a fan of that. I thought that the 1 pound deal I thought it was fine. I thought it was sufficient. But once we went to a variable minimum, and, you know, like Watts Bar was kind of a tough event. We fished a 1.8 minimum there, and it was the right call to not have a 2 pound minimum on Watts Bar. But most of our events are 2 pound minimum. And dude, that's pretty good fish. I mean, I know y'all mostly go by, you know, by inches and measurement and stuff. At Watts Bar, on average, a 2 pound fish was about 15 3/4 inches, or a 2 pound fish would have been like 16 and a half. A 1.8 was right around 15 1/4, 15 and a half inch fish to be a pound and a half. So, I mean, it took a pretty decent fish, you know, just to be scoreable. And that's, a lot of people are like, and they want to say you know, that they go out to the lake and they caught a bunch of keepers. You know, it's a lake that's got a 14-inch size limit. They caught a bunch of keepers. They were 2 pounders, and 14 inchers wasn't 2 pounders. When you start weighing them, you start realizing
scale's real tricky, isn't it? Yeah,
it's real tricky. You start realizing just how big a 2 pounder is, and but it does. It makes us target bigger fish. It definitely slowed the score tracker down. You know, as far as just how movement there was, but again, like I said, I was not a fan of it at first. I thought it would be a detriment, and it definitely, I was proved wrong on that deal.
Ryan, can you imagine if we went to a 15 or 16-inch minimum? Kayak anglers would have a stroke.
Be a lot of people quitting. A lot of people quitting the sport.
yeah, because that
really clear. Hell, there's times I can't catch them with a 12-inch minimum, so I definitely don't want to go to 15.
It is that 2 pound. When they were talking about it, I'm like, I don't know. Y'all know what you're talking about. I mean, short of going up north or places like that, it's like that are just prolific fisheries. I mean, even the Tennessee River fishery, because I look back at, I mean, take my whole career under 5 fish limit tournaments. I got a lot of checks with 12 to 14 pounds a day. I mean, most of the places we would go, short of a Lake Fork or St. Lawrence River, most of the places you go, 12, 13, 14 pounds, that's where the check range is going to be on an average fishery. If you got a 12-pound limit, you probably don't have 5 2-pounders in there. You could have, but you probably got a 4, a 3 1/4, a couple 2 3/4 or 2 1/2, and then you still got one in there. It's about a pound 11.
Right.
You know, that's just the way that works out. So you cut that to a 2-pound minimum, you ain't got 5 even, you know. So that's the funny thing with that. I was a little nervous about it to start with.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to some of these questions that we let fly by earlier, because this has been a great discussion.
What's it going to take to get you in a kayak tournament? While Jeff's reading through questions, if we held one, let's say maybe on the Holston and the French Broad, could we get you in a kayak to fish that?
Man, now y'all do it. Y'all had to put in a public ramp, don't you?
We
Yes.
do.
Yeah,
Many, and
got it.
I'll spoiler alert. We had our big tournament of champions up there on the Holston and the French Broad, so it has been done. And I mean, some of those floats can be 12 or 16 miles, depending on where you're putting in and taking out.
Yeah, man, that would be tough. I ain't gonna say I wouldn't. It would have to, number one, I have to line up with my schedule. Would be the biggest thing with it. I feel like I'd get my eyeballs beat out because I'm not prepared to fish in a kayak. To be quite honest,
Them fish are sitting in the same spot. You just got to get turned around and sit still real quick.
Several times it was asked throughout here. I can't find all these.
I'm used to.
Sir. I couldn't find all the questions, but this has been asked a couple times, which is, what's your favorite lake for the MLF events that you go to?
Oh man, for our events we go to, I mean, I mentioned I've named the St. Lawrence River a different time or two. That's just, I mean, man, it's just such an awesome fishery. We fished one up there, But if not just one particular lake, but the state of Texas with Major League Fishing has been really good to me. I've had 4 Major League Fishing wins in the state of Texas, so I like Texas pretty good when it comes to our tournaments.
All right, a lot of our viewers would agree. We got a lot of folks from Texas that watch.
Yeah, Cody would dedefinitely agree with that too.
That's right. Cody's the man.
We can't get Cody off Chickamauga, so we're gonna have to work on that.
Somebody asked, with your do you size your baits differently depending on what the minimum is for that event?
Yeah. The neat thing with that 2-pound minimum is I feel like you basically fish as though it was a 5-fish limit tournament, as far as the baits that I'm going to choose. Now, the difference with that, if I, in a 5-fish limit tournament, I may have had I'm going to fish with this bait to try to get a limit or try to get a decent bag. And then I may switch over to, something really big just for looking for that kicker bite. Well, I don't ever do that anymore. I personally, I've not carried giant spoons or glide baits, with me in a Major League Fishing event yet. I don't know that I ever will. So that's the, it's nice to me because I don't want to even have to carry that stuff anymore. But I do kind of eliminate some of those, really big fish baits. But other than that, for the most part, it's about trying to get a bite. I mean, I throw a wacky worm a ton fishing for 2-pounders. I throw a Ned rig. I caught a lot of my fish at Chickamauga last year in June on a Ned rig. Fishing a 2-pound minimum.
Ryan's made a career on a jackhammer and Ned rig.
Well,
yeah,
some kind of career, successful or not, it's debatable, but it's been one.
Yeah. This is a great question. How long do you want to have a career on the pro side of things? Is there a retirement plan? I know you've done some TV shows. That Monster Bass show was awesome. Mm-hmm. What's your retirement plan down the road?
Yeah, I definitely do. That Jenny and I have talked about that a lot. At 50, I'm 36 now. 50 is kind of my number as to where I would like to be as far as traveling and fishing tournaments professionally. But beyond that, I don't know if it would be full-time transition into a TV show, or who knows what social media and YouTube and all those kind of things will look like at that point in time. I certainly want to stay active in the industry beyond that. But as far as fishing tournaments and somebody else telling me when I'm going to be where, 50 is kind of my number in mind.
You're not trying to pull a Jimmy Houston and keep it rolling into the 90s?
No, or Rick Clun, either one. No, that's definitely not my goal for sure. Yeah.
This is a great question. I actually had this on my list of things to ask you. I know your faith is extremely important to you. How does that fall into your tournament day or even tournament week ritual?
Yeah, for me, my faith is very important to me. Very thankful for Jesus and for Him coming and being our sacrifice on this earth. But yeah, for me, one thing that I've been doing this year is reading it's a chronological written version of the Bible. So I'll read that every day, whether I'm at home or on the road. Read a devotional every day. But the thing that I do every morning, whether it's again the tournament or not, I try to make it the point that the first app I open on my phone is my Bible app, and I read verse of the day on there, and that's, like I said, that doesn't change if I'm at home or at a tournament. But those are kind of the three things that I try to do each and every day.
Does Mark Rose still do the boat ramp sermons that he was
The
doing?
fishing church, yeah. So
Yeah.
and that's something we do every Sunday at an event, whether that's a practice day or tournament day, whichever one. Yeah. Mark we refer to him as the chairman of the deacons, but he kind of puts that together, and he scheduled. I think last year was that way too, where he took the burden off of himself and shared it around with all the regulars, where each of us have a tournament that we each individually speak at, and that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's we talked about Cody Prather earlier. That's something he's kind of gotten going at the Hobie BOS events at the captain's meetings. He has a little fishing fellowship right at the captain's meetings time, so it's been a cool thing to see develop.
Yeah, that's awesome
over there. And then we've got a few iCast questions for you. Basically, everybody wants to know: do you got any kind of sneak peeks? Any new OG baits? Anything about that Humminbird release coming that you want to drop?
Yeah, there is another OG bait coming. There's another one of those. It's that will be released at ICAST, and this is actually the first OG that will be released at ICAST. The very first one, the Slim, was the year of, I said, that was 20. What was that? That release. So that, who knew what that was? 21 was the one last year, and Rapple actually didn't end up being at ICAST that year, so it wasn't truly an ICAST release. But the bait that's coming up this year will be the first OG bona fide, released at ICAST, as far as the press of it and the world seeing and all that kind of stuff. Just like all their new baits and stuff, nothing actually will be. Beetle bugs are getting out. Nothing will actually be available till the end of the fall. As far as the Humminbird deal, man, if we stayed.
Oh, Humminbird done censored him. They they heard it coming out of his mouth. They done cut him off.
Was that on purpose? Was that on purpose?
Can you hear me?
He said, Jenny, pull the Wi-Fi.
He said Humminbird, looked at the watch, and boom, there it went.
Somehow it popped off my AirPod, but yeah, their release, I think, is at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's pretty neat. I've got it on my boat, and I think y'all are gonna be pretty impressed. I don't know how it would work on a kayak, but it's definitely more boat driven.
Buddy, anything you can put on a boat, we can finagle it around on a kayak. I promise.
We got
There's guys out here with active target off one side and live scope off the other. Bow mount trolling motor, rear mount electric motor. They don't care.
Yeah.
Boys got more money than sense.
Yeah, you could definitely add this too. That's the case.
Well, I appreciate you hanging out with us. Let's talk about this Angler Academy and what we used as the excuse to bring you on here. So tell us what you're doing up there at Carson Newman.
Yeah. Hunter Sales has reached out to me and just told me, that he's got this event there, and I'm glad you've got it pulled up because I don't remember exactly what day it is and the way I work. But so on the 23rd, and I think it's open to any high school anglers. I think it's more geared towards high school anglers than it is, college. But yeah, just an awesome event. I think I'll be up there for around an hour or so, kind of middle of the day. Is what Hunter told me as to when I'll be there. But come talk fishing and get to meet a few folks, and it should be a great event. Just a great place to learn. I think it's kind of what Hunter's goal is with that. Done a really good job with that team.
Are you doing any private sessions for the Carson Newman anglers? I would like to sponsor Ewing Minor specifically. If you can teach them how to fish out of a bass boat, that'd be great.
No, I haven't done anything like that. I do get asked that on occasion, sir. Yeah.
That could be your retirement plan. Take these whippersnappers out and show them the ropes.
Yeah, the Johnny Schultz route, one-on-one lessons.
Lesson. When you'd asked that earlier about the retirement plan, that's something I didn't say. But by the time that I get to that age, who knows what college fishing and high school fishing will be. I know there's college coaches now that are making a fair salary, from being a college coach. By the time that I'm at that age, that's liable to be a legitimate transition from a professional into a coaching type position. by the time we get to that point.
I could see that. You could be the Eric Musselman of college kayak fishing. I could see it. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We got them kids in the green room yet, Jeff?
I see him there, Ryan.
All right.
Are we gonna let Mr. Defoe?
We're gonna transition. We appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on and keeping us entertained here for an hour. I know it's your bedtime, so we'll let you get off here and keep these young men up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my eyelids are getting pretty heavy.
All right. Well, yeah, it was a pleasure and an honor, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Unbelievable, Ryan.
Hey, look at that.
Ott Defoe.
You don't
Defoe.
have to know everybody. You just have to know somebody that knows everybody.
That's I'm doing a presentation in August on professional networking, and one of the key words there is everybody you know knows somebody you should know. And I think you're taking that to the nth degree, haven't you, Ryan?
Well, if you need me to speak, let me know, okay?
All right, man. All right. Here's them what'd you call them? The kids? The youngins?
How y'all feeling?
I call them.
How y'all feel about following up Ott Defoe, man? You guys
We'll see how it goes.
Where y'all at? Y'all stuck in the garage or in the closet? or what?
We're in the King Koza tackle room right here.
Okay. That's his private stash?
This is a private stash. All the cool stuff's up here.
So Jamie's doing a rehoming project for the summer where he's taking Carson Newman anglers and putting them up down there in Marietta.
Yeah, basically. He's been putting us to work all summer long. Yeah. He's been teaching us.
Good stuff.
So what you see on the screen, they're actually reversed. Jacob's on the right, Ben's on the left. Ben, you kind of did something cool this past year. What did you manage to crack in the college derbs?
Yeah, I managed to win the college classic this year on Lake Kiwi whenever the big boys were at Hartwell. So that was a really, really cool experience, and really, really looking forward to going to the same event next year, but it'll be in Knoxville, so it'll be a little bit closer to school this time. We're really, really looking forward to that.
Feeling pretty good about that one?
Yeah. We don't really know what we're gonna do yet, but we're really excited that it's that close, and we'll be able to fish somewhere close to school that we like to fish a lot. I mean, we fish Watts Bar a lot in all those lakes all the time, so it's gonna be really cool.
Are you going to be a pro when you grow up? I read some top 10 lists, like most likely to succeed or something.
That's the goal anyway. That's the goal.
All right.
We'll see what works out, but I'm gonna try and do all I can do. That's really what I want to do.
I like it.
Yes, sir.
Jacob, you made a purchase here recently, and I think you made a road trip with Prince Edwin, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, just recently. A couple days ago, I actually just sold my boat. And before I sold the boat, I decided I was going to buy me a Hobie. So I got me a PA-12, rigged it out with the Torpedo and a Lowrance unit. And me and Edwin went up on a road trip to Winnipesaukee. I guess that was week and a half ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Never been in a kayak before. Never really kayak fished. So, like, the 2 days before we went, I went fishing, and I don't think I've ever jumped off as many fish in my entire life. I probably jumped off 10 or 15 of them before I figured out how to land them in that thing. But
the leverage point's different. I don't know if you're fishing sitting down primarily or standing up, but even if you're standing up, there's a 2.5 or 3 foot of difference being on the deck of a boat. So you're pulling from a completely different angle on those fish.
Yeah. It took me a minute to figure out, kind of how to fight them, and then Edwin gave me some pointers on fighting fish, on actually like repositioning the kayak while you're fighting a fish, so the hook angle doesn't change while you're fighting them and all that. But it was a great time. That place, that Winnipesaukee place, it's an awesome fishery, man.
It looked beautiful up there. It looked really cool.
Boat traffic was a little crazy during the actual tournament itself, but it's part of it. We had to work through it and keep on fishing now.
Hey Ryan, I didn't ask this before we brought these guys on, but I mean, we're looking at the last name there, Jacob Lambert. Is this a family affair here? Any kind of kin, or is it like?
So this is me and Jason's second cousin out of Texas.
Okay.
his family pushed west to settle the frontier of Austin in skinny jeans. So
It's like
brought him back.
It's like the Yellowstone origin story. Same thing.
Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
Edwin was telling me he's going to make everybody in the Hobies call me Little Lambert.
In case you didn't
Lambert
know.
Jr.
Yeah, in case there's any confusion.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and you guys fish with him. What is it that allows him to be so much better out of a kayak than a bass
I
boat?
don't know. The thing with Edwin is if you put him somewhere, he's going to figure out a way to catch something. That'd be a bass, that'd be a kingfish, that'd be, anything like that. That dude, he is a fishy person. I mean, he can catch everything. He knows how to catch all kinds
Just
of
about.
stuff.
We were talking about it today on the way. We went out to Atlanta today, and on the way back, he sent us a picture of a kingfish and a grouper
Yeah.
that he caught out of his kayak today in Florida. And we were like, dude, he's not a bass fisherman. He's just a fisherman. He just he fishes for anything and everything, and he's good. Exactly. Anything he's fishing for, he's going to end up catching them. So,
yeah.
What I like about Edwin is he'll tell you about it too.
He'll let you know.
I promise you. I finished up 30th in that Winnipesaukee, and he finished up 14th, and I heard about it all 15 hours on the way home.
Yeah. He stayed with us at Sam Rayburn. That was the first time Jeff had met him in person at the Sam Rayburn house, and Edwin pretty much told us how he was going to win that tournament the entire time leading up to the tournament.
That's
every single day, every single night.
Every day. He's so cocky. He's confident, cocky, whatever. But it gives him an edge to where when he's out there, no matter what's going on, how bad his day is going, in his head, he's going to end up catching him. He's going to beat everybody.
That stuff he did at Broken Bow was ridiculous. I don't even know. When he called me and told me that when I was going back to the ramp, I'm like, I would not even think of that. If I'm sitting there looking at those fish, I'm not going to be like, oh, let me pendulum swing a drop shot through. What in the world is wrong with him?
And at Winnipesaukee, everybody was fishing shallow in practice, and I was fishing relatively shallow, 20 foot. And all the way between 20 and 8 foot of water. And I call Ewing midway through the day because I'd only caught 14, 15 inches. I was like, hey man, how's your day going? He's like, oh, I have 96.5 inches or something.
He sent us a picture from 90 feet out there. He was catching something in 90 feet of water.
Yeah, I said, what? You have 96? Ewing, you told me he's going to take he's like, oh, it's going to take about 90 a day to win. He has 96. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm sitting out here in 65 foot of water catching suspended fish in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, Ewing, what? But
got too much free time.
Yeah.
He fishes a lot.
That's all that kid does. Because he fished that live stream tournament in Michigan. And then
KFL, KFL boy.
He comes back, goes to Alabama, fishes another one, leaves that. We load up the truck, go to Winnipesaukee, drive through the night. The next day he wakes up, goes and fishes Outer Banks for a week. Now he's in Florida. That's all.
He says he's going to catch a tarpon. He's seen it on TV, so he thinks that's the deal down there. So I'm waiting to see the tarpon pics roll in.
Let me ask you guys this, because obviously you've got some young college hammers on here talking about kayak fishing. I know one of y'all just won the College Bass Boat Classic, but did Ewing getting in here and guys like Jackson Orr cashing checks in the kayaks open your eyes to try to get involved in this?
Yeah,
I mean, what made you want to get involved with kayaks?
Yeah, I've still only been in a kayak one time. We all went on the Chattahoochee, and I really enjoyed it. We didn't really catch many fish, but I mean, it's just a really cool, different style of fishing. I mean, you really get to break down, a body of water, and one of my things that I just really like to do is be able to fish skinny water and fish a lot of water that other people can't fish. And that's just, that's exactly why, kayak fishing is what it is. It's just, you can fish so much more water that you can't get to in a boat. And especially in Tennessee and everything, there's just so many streams and rivers and really cool backwater you can get in and catch a lot of really big fish.
Yeah. Tell Jamie to drop you off down there on the Flint or the Okmulgee. All you're gonna catch is dirty needles and baby diapers on the Chattahoochee. So you're gonna have to get out of that place. You catch something different down there.
But yeah, I'd really like to try and fish maybe one college kayak tournament maybe this semester if we got time.
Are you going all in on the college side, Little Lambert?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to
Little
fish
Lambert.
both the college kayak stuff, and then I'm gonna still fish some of the bass boat tournaments as well as a co-angler.
Gotcha. How do y'all partner up? That's something I wondered.
It's different every year. Ben and Hayden just kind of started fishing together freshman year and haven't stopped. Me, I've been bouncing around partner to partner as you know, there's one available, one that wants to fish with me. I'm not like Ben. I'm not winning everything. Sometimes I gotta find guys, but
you gotta get a selling point there.
Yeah,
It's like a girl on a holiday weekend, just looking for a boat to get in.
yeah.
Hey boys.
Hey, we got a question for Ben from the crowd here.
Yes,
Matt
sir.
Fentress asked, "How bad do you miss Ray Hubbard?"
Oh gosh, I miss Ray Hubbard a bunch. That's a really really tough lake, but I really miss fishing around in Texas a lot. I mean, we don't have near the size, you know, in East Tennessee or over here in Georgia, but I'm actually going back to Texas in a couple of days, so I'm really excited. Looking forward to maybe getting back on the home pond and catching a couple. But
Awesome.
I miss that place a lot.
Trying to
What's on the agenda? I mean, obviously, you're going to try to repeat this year, but I mean, what are each of you's kind of goals as far as this upcoming season?
Yeah, we're going to Winyah Bay for that national championship, I believe in September. So goal is to win that one. Never won a national championship, so that'd be a really cool one to try and achieve. So really looking forward to doing that. You know, it's a tidal fishery, and never fished one of those before, but it looks really, really cool. It's probably going to be one of the toughest tournaments we've ever fished, especially because it's on a holiday weekend. But we'll make do with what we got and try and get the win there. So really excited.
I don't know about this season, but next, like going into the next Hobie BOS season, I want to make a TOC and
Hey, there you go.
I want to try to fish as most of a full season as I can, starting next season with them.
Now you're talking real goals, all right?
Yeah.
I don't know what Ben's talking about, national championships and stuff, but
I want to fish as much of those Hobie tournaments as I can. I had a ton of fun doing that, man. It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed not having to put gas in the boat too.
Yeah, no
So that was nice.
That's a pretty cool thing about kayaks too, is how much cheaper it is.
until you have to pedal one like 16
Yeah.
miles
Yeah, oh, no,
against the wind, then you're like, all right, this
Bert
sucks.
called me, Bert called me. He was like, dude, he's like, I can't even hardly walk. Like, this is the most workout I've had in a really long time.
Yeah, so I put a torpedo on the back of mine. So in practice,
his mom was giving him a bunch of crap because he told her, he's like, yeah, I'm getting this kayak and I'll, you know, be able to, you know, be active because I'm pedaling and stuff all the time. First thing he does is get that torpedo on there.
Yeah, so I used that torpedo all practice, and it was awesome. Yeah. And then, you know, the first day the tournament comes and I start pedaling, and me and you,
reality sets in real quick there.
we fished the same area the first day, and it probably wasn't far, maybe like a mile or two from the ramp. And I get like a mile, I'm like halfway there, and I look and I'm like, dude, my legs are already kind of.
Boy, those are rookie numbers. Rookie numbers.
So the first day, I think I ended up going like 8 miles, but the second day I made a haul, and I was like, I pedaled like 12 and a half miles, and I got back to the ramp and stood up, and I just fell over. I was like, dude, I am exhausted right now.
We're gonna have to condition you to the lifestyle, my friend.
I told you, and I said, man, I can't fish the torpedo all the time. I'm gonna have to just pedal some.
No, we'll have you tuned up. We go out to the Hotchatown Saloon there in Broken Bow till about 2 a.m, teach dance lessons, sleep a couple hours, then pedal 16 miles. That's how you.
When he says we, he's not talking about me, by the way. He's talking
about Jeff just eat dinner and go to bed before the sun goes down.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's fun.
Like opposite of a vampire. There we go. Let's see. Anything else from the viewers? I don't see any more questions there. Ryan, you got anything else for these guys before we wrap the show tonight?
I think I'm good. I appreciate y'all coming on, and everybody. I mean, if you got any young high school children in your life, get them up there and let Ott teach them how to fish. Will you guys be up there participating in that? Y'all gonna teach anything?
I'm still not sure if I'm going to be there or not yet, but definitely recommend going. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on there, a lot of cool pros and whatnot, a lot of good information. So,
yeah, I've done it the past 3 years, but I don't think I'll be able to make it back down to Tennessee for that one, unfortunately. But it's always a great time. If there's any high school kids listening that are in the East Tennessee area, Georgia, Alabama, that are somewhat close and want to come have a good time and learn, and it's always a good time. So,
yeah. Well, you
can find these two young men peddling, literally selling kayaks at the Dugout Bait and Tackle. Go buy one. They'll load it in your truck for you.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's
we'll
right.
Put it in there.
That's our job. That's our job.
Yeah, make the
Thanks
note. It
for
sounds
having
like
us on.
Yep. Thank you
yeah,
guys.
you bet, fellas. It sounds like we're gonna have about the time Ott retires, Ben will be up there on stage somewhere.
Oh,
we
gosh,
bring
I'll
him
put-
back on,
No pressure.
and then we'll have Lil Lambert will take your place on the kayak.
Yeah, I'll
Station.
take
What am I going to do?
I don't know. You'll be me because I'll be in the home, so you'll be running things over here.
Come on, man. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate y'all coming on. Take care. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This was a good one.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank y'all.